Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, 80s Lou.
Hello.
And hopefully, I think I'm finally pointing the right way. I realize I have to point in the opposite direction of which way I see you on the camera. It only took like, what, 35 episodes to figure that out?
35 already.
Or whatever. I don't know. Hey, this is going to be far and away the toughest video we've ever done. And that's because we're going to talk about something very near and dear to our hearts, and that's the guitar solos of the 80s. And I could probably list 80 million guitar solos that I love, and we're going to have to narrow this down to 5, and it's going to be painful. And people are going to go, why didn't you include this? Why didn't you include that? And they're probably going to be right. But we're going to do the best we can. There's just too many great ones to something has to get omitted, and we're probably gonna omit them. So hopefully we catch most of them. And you ready for this, Lou? You ready?
I'm going to try it, John. I really took a different approach to it. As I was trying to narrow them down, I thought this is impossible. This is absolutely impossible to just say, okay, yeah, these are like the top 5 80s solos. So I just went with solos that I liked, tried to do a little bit of a variance in the kind of music. That's sort of my approach to it, because really trying to define the top 5 solos is just impossible.
For me, the approach I took is what is memorable, right? And I try to take the approach of what can I hear? Can I hear that solo in my head? Without hearing the song, can I hear it in my head? Is it good? Is it technical? Is it memorable? Does it have some melody? And yeah, there's a lot I had to erase from my list, but I think I got some good ones. But I'm gonna let you lead us off and take it away, brother.
Excellent. All right, let's see which one is first on my list. Uh, All right. I'm going to start off with Van Halen. I am going to go with the solo, especially the opening solo for "Hot for Teacher,"
Wow.
and I thought that it's just a really impactful solo. It's just totally showing off Eddie Van Halen's hammering skills, and yeah, it's to me, it's just such an impact on that song with the drums. It sounds like almost like a dragster or something, and all of a sudden Eddie Van Halen comes in with this slide guitar, or this, the slide pick, and starts doing his hammer-ons. I think it's awesome, absolutely awesome. So that's the first one I'm going with.
I was debating. I believe it or not, I do not have an Eddie Van Halen solo. Is it that only one you have for him, right?
That's the only one that I've got for
Yeah,
him.
I didn't include him. I have got to say, and my favorite guitar playing of Eddie's is definitely on the debut album. I just felt like he had a fire. I almost included the solo on Beat It just because it had such an impactful presence on such a popular song. And then I heard the interesting thing is that was like he did 2 takes and didn't get paid a dime for it. So I almost went that route, but actually, Hot for Teacher is a good call out. Well, we know in the 80s that LA was a place to be, and there were 2 super hot guitar players. And this is, obviously my all time favorite. I got to go with Randy Rhoads. From there are so I could probably pick all 5 of his solos and then just walk out of here. But limiting it to one, as tough as it was, I have to go with the solo for Over the Mountain from the Diary of a Madman album. And that was one of those solos when I first heard it. I was just like, oh my God, he just put a little bit of everything into that solo and just blew me away. And it's the one that when I think Randy Rhoads, that's the one I always come back to. And so that's the one I had to include. So Randy Rhoads, Over the Mountain, even the end solo, which it kind of repeats the first 2 lines of the main solo. And I even thought that was really interesting that you don't usually hear people do that kind of thing. So a lot of respect for that. Love that solo.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Randy is an absolute for our list. Over the Mountain is probably one of my favorite Ozzy Osbourne songs. I actually had Crazy Train on my list, but I'm not going to go down that route now that you've hit Randy Rhoads. But yeah,
Like that was
awesome, awesome.
shocking that I hit Randy Rhoads, right?
It was really going to be which one of us got to him first. So, and obviously that you did, and I feel good about that, being that he's such a rock hero to you. So, yeah, really good call, John. Really, really good call. I also had Beat It on my list as a backup, so that one's definitely off the list as
All
well.
right.
Um, So the next one I'm going with is it's Metallica's Master of Puppets. And yeah, I just think that the guitar work on that is so melodic, is just so, it's got a lot of feeling into it. And just one of the solos to me that really stands out and adds a lot to the song.
So are you talking James's solo? The real
I
super
I
melodic one?
I was never 100% clear as to who was doing the solo, because I've heard some people say it's James and some people say it's Kirk. But whoever's playing that solo, it's got the arpeggios and stuff, is just very sort of lullabying and amazing. Just the phrasing on that and the notes that were chosen, just awesome.
So if it's yeah, it's the melodic solo, and I'm 95% sure that's James Hetfield, and I always was super impressed by that because Kirk Hammett's a great guitarist. Don't get me wrong. I just was never a huge fan of his playing or his style, and I was always blown away as like, wow, so the rhythm guitarist does the best solo on the album. So I agree with you. I always love that solo by James, and the melody on it. It's just a beautiful melody for such a brutal song, and great pick. Um, Speaking of melody, I'm gonna go with the gentleman who was very influenced by UFO and Michael Schenker, and that's Adrian Vandenberg.
Nice.
And for me, the guitar solo on "Burning Heart," which is probably the biggest Vandenberg hit ever, and I really loved what I loved about the solo was the fact that it starts out with the acoustic playing, and then it goes into the guitar solo, and it's got some bluesy riffs and kind of speeds up, and it's just got a little bit of everything, and everything's tasty as could be. Always love that solo, and as I'm talking about it, I can hear it in my head, down out, dun, 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 all the little nuances of that playing, and just blew me away. And it fit the song so perfectly, which I think a lot of solos don't necessarily fit the song. They may be impressive, but this
Right.
really, really added to the song, and one of my all-time favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, Adrian Vandenberg, I think, is a very underrated guitar player. Great pick. I love that song of his. Absolutely stellar song. Very emotional. It's great. Great song. Great pick. All right, let's see, where am I going next here? All right, I am going to go with a song that sort of annoyed me a little bit back when I was working at Roundtable in my teens. They used to play this on the jukebox all the time, and it was a time that I wasn't really a fan of Prince, but it was a Prince tune, and it was yes, Let's Go Crazy at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Just caught me completely by surprise the first time I heard that, just that ripping solo that he does as an outro. And is just, that's when I opened my eyes to, wow, this guy really knows how to play. And so yeah, that's my next pick.
And what's funny is I usually do the intros before we record this, and I always try and guess what you might say, and I know what I'm gonna say. And yes, I included Prince on there. I figured he was going to get a mention in this, so I included him. Great call. I also, the first time I heard that, I went, kind of made me like sit up and go, "Wow, that was impressive." And then to find out it was actually him was even more impressive. I always assumed it was another one of his musicians. So great pick on that one.
Awesome.
Um, I'm going to mention somebody that this album came out in 1983. This is a guy that does not get mentioned enough when we talk about all-time great guitar heroes, and he really should. He was a huge influence on Vivian Campbell of Dio and Def Leppard. He was a huge influence on John Sykes, and of course, I'm talking about the one, the only Gary Moore. And
Nice.
on the Victims of the Future album, he did a solo on the cover of Shape of Things where it was just mind blowing. I he just threw in so many different techniques on that as well, and everything sounded amazing. And it's almost like he said, "Okay, guys, this is what I can do. Follow that." And it was pretty incredible. I saw him. I unfortunately I only saw him perform once live, And boy, you can tell the influence he had, because I think every heavy metal guitar player in the Bay Area was at that show. It was packed. And but Gary Morris, just so tasteful. And I'm not a blues fan, so I went later on to his blues era. Kind of, I didn't really follow it. It's not my thing. But when he was doing the rock, I mean, he could do everything on that guitar. And he doesn't get enough credit. And sadly, he's gone. And he really deserves way more credit for what he brought to the guitar playing world.
Yeah, Gary Moore is an amazing pick, and definitely one I'm glad that you brought up, because I'd forgotten about him. I can't think of a specific guitar solo that really moved me, but I love a lot of his music, and definitely a great guitar player that doesn't get his fair shake. I agree. All right, my next one here. All right. Yeah, all right. I'm going to go with a guitar player that I don't usually consider to be amazing. He's got some really tasty riffs though, and definitely fits in with his band well. Um, and I am going to call out AC/DC and Angus Young doing Back in Black. And I always thought that solo fit that song super well, like a glove. And you just listen to it. And I remember like dancing to it and stuff when it would come on at dance clubs, and just every time, man, you just totally get into that solo. Very well placed, very well done. I'm sorry, Angus.
Yeah, that was a really good guitar solo. Not a huge fan of his guitar playing, but that was something that stood out. Again, he always was a little bit more bluesy than what I liked, but I could always appreciate him. And like you said, fits that song perfectly. So, it's one of those things where it really enhances the song as opposed to distracting from the song or doing something that's just like, it doesn't really make sense. So, good pick. This is probably gonna be the most obscure one on the list. And I would guess probably everybody that's listening to this would be like, I've never heard that in my life. And hopefully I introduce some people to it, because this guy is amazing. Just doesn't get, another one who doesn't get recognition at all. And he's incredible. And that's Josh Christian, who plays with a band called Toxic. And on their second album, Think This, which came out in 1989, I believe, yes, he does a solo on Machine Dream, which is just wow. The incredible thing is, I read somewhere that he just couldn't find anything that he liked on that, and just improvised a solo. And some people, it's a little maybe too much, flash, but my God, what flash it is. And it's just incredible. It's one of those jaw-dropping solos where you're like, you know, like who is this guy? What is he doing? And the sad thing for me is, I didn't get to see Toxic in their heyday. They broke up before I was able to see them. I've seen them twice, 2 or 3 times now, in the recent years when they kind of came back, and I've never gotten to see them perform that song. And the last time I saw them, they were supposed to perform Think This in its entirety, and they cut one song from the set because it was running over. And of course, they cut Machine Dream. It killed me. I've always wanted to hear them perform that live and hear that guitar solo live, but they owe me. So next time Toxic comes out to the LA area, I expect to hear Machine Dream.
Very cool. I would have to go back and listen to that song. I know that you used to play Toxic a lot when we used to cruise on the El Camino in your Mustang. So I'm sure that I've heard it. I just can't pick it out at this point. So I'll have to go back and listen to it.
It's just next level stuff, and he's just he threw in the kitchen sink. He really did. But it works. And it was just, like I said, it's just a jaw-dropping solo. And it's one of those rare times where something like that, I just fell in love with it.
Awesome. All right, is this my last one?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of liberty. I'm going to cheat on this one because it pisses me off that these guys released their album in November of 1979. And it's got one of the most amazing solos to me. Actually, there's two songs there that have absolutely jaw-breaking solos, but I'm just going to call out one. Um, and it got the most radio airplay in 1980. So I'm taking a little bit of license here, but I've got to mention this. And it's Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. And David Gilmour's solo is just absolutely soaring. Comfortably Numb is the other one I wanted to call out. Both of those songs have really, really long guitar solos. And through the entire guitar solo, you're just like riveted to it. It's not something like that you're bored and going, oh my God, this is just going on way too long. It just takes you through all these different motions and plateaus and valleys, and just superb guitar playing. And I didn't appreciate him so much when I was younger, because I was really into the speed and the technical stuff. But when I got a little bit older and really saw the other side of guitar playing with, the feeling of it, that to me is probably got to be, one of the all-time best guitar solos. So yeah, sorry for twisting the rules just a little bit here, but I had to mention him.
That's actually one of the first guitar solos I ever think I learned. So I used to
Wow.
want to play the solo for Another Brick in the Wall. And it actually, I hate to say this because I don't want this to sound like a negative thing, but it was really easy to learn. So it was nice to learn. But just because something is easy to play doesn't mean it's not really good. And that's one of those ones, again, I could hear that solo in my head and all the little subtleties and letting it breathe a little bit. And, great stuff. And it's a good call. But to be fair, I hate Pink Floyd. Watch, Bill Maker's gonna like rip me a new one on that one. But yeah, I hate Pink Floyd. So not one of my favorite bands. Oh well.
I didn't
Um,
always like Pink Floyd. I mean, it was again one of those things that later on in life I got into them. But I hear you on that. But go ahead, man.
all right, so this is my last one, and unlike you, I kind of kept it all to the hard rock and heavy metal. There were so many, and I hated cutting people off. But here's my last one, and again, it's somebody that doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. And it's probably because when you replace a legend like Randy Rhoads, the expectations are out of this world. And Jakey Lee's solo on Bark at the Moon for Ozzy Osbourne, I love that solo. The way he kept building it up and building it up, and at the end of it, and then he just hits that note and he's bending it and he's just hitting it and it's going back into the main riff. Love, love, love that solo. And Jakey Lee is another one of those people that's so incredibly talented and just does not get talked about nearly enough. His work with Ozzy, his work with Badlands. I can't say I've heard a lot of his Red Dragon Cartel stuff. I wish he hadn't taken a huge sabbatical from the music industry, but I did see him perform twice with Ozzy, and man, what a talent! In addition to playing a great guitar, he was a brilliant performer. I loved watching him. And then he would do, the stuff that he did where he used his thumb as a capo and was playing notes. It was just wow. And he didn't use a vibrato bar. So he would,
Really?
yeah, he you watch him play. He's never got a vibrato bar on there. So, he would, use the tuning pegs or, mess with the neck to get his sounds. And what an amazing guitar player. Just he needs more respect on his name. And Jakey Lee, Bark at the Moon, one of my all-time favorite solos.
Yeah, that's a super good call. It is an outstanding solo. Even the outro to that, where he's going, well, I can't do it, but you know what I'm talking about. And the way that it just ends on that one last note, super guitar playing, just absolutely superb. And yeah, I agree. He had big shoes to fill. I think he absolutely, was very complimentary to Ozzy's music, and is an excellent guitar player. Yeah, really great call.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, he got really, like most people, got really screwed over by Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne because he didn't get any credit for his writing. And I've seen interviews with him where he says, I don't even care about the money. I just want people to know that it's mine. And the way Sharon Osbourne handled that whole situation and everything with him, it's pretty dirty. And it's unfortunate because he came up with those riffs. Like, I guess the main riff for Bark at the Moon was like an old Rat song, but he just sped it up, and just a great guitar player. It's just a shame. Glad to see that he had come back with Red Dragon Cartel. Hopefully he performs out here. I'd love to see him again. And yeah, I got three guys at four actually, if you include Adrian Vandenberg, just did not get the credit they deserve. And there was a lot of great guitar players in the '80s, and those are some of the ones that really stuck out for me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, super good call. Super good call.
So I'm going to change it up a little bit before we end out. So I was able to visit last week, Mr. '80s Lou, and we spent a day at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which if you're a movie fan like I am of the '80s, you know probably better as Santa Carla from the Lost Boys. And you're grabbing something, but I got to share this with you guys because it's so cool. So this is the comic book that was used in the Lost Boys. Well, not this one actually. That probably would have cost more money, and I didn't have it. But this is a reproduction of the comic book that was used in Lost Boys. And the comic book shop that was shown in Lost Boys, where the Frog Brothers work, is still in existence. It's been in existence since 1973, I believe. It's no longer on the boardwalk, but about less than a mile away from the actual boardwalk. So we went in and I had to grab a copy of this. Vampires everywhere, because this is the training manual. If you live in Santa Carla, you have to deal with vampires. And I thought it was something super cool, so '80s, and definitely wanted to share that with everybody.
And we actually got to see the original, the one that they actually used in the movie. They had it there on display.
Yeah, it was a very cool place. And I've always loved the Lost Boys. We got to do something more on that, but definitely wanted to share this very cool pickup that I was able to get.
Awesome.
I guess they actually when they made this up, they had 3 pages that were created for the comic book so they could show it in the movie. And so what they did is they took the rest of it and they recreated those pages, but then they put like memories and pictures and back photos from the day in this comic book. So what a cool thing. And it's totally '80s, baby. So gotta love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, bro. Well, we talked a lot. Is there anything else? I'm wearing UFO. I feel really bad that I didn't include anything Michael Schenker related. I came very close. Even Paul Tonka Chapman. Atomic Tommy was another great guitar player for UFO. I think that still came out in the '80s. And you're wearing Yngwie, and you didn't even mention Yngwie.
I didn't. Yngwie had a huge influence on me when I was younger. And his guitar playing was, again, super influential. Just the style that he brought into the rock and heavy metal genre. So from a technical aspect, very impressive. And some of his early stuff is very, very good. Didn't have that, as you mentioned, it didn't have that quality of where it sort of rings in your head. Listen to it and you can play it through almost like it's the melody of a song or something. Not a lot of his stuff to me has that. Again, super enjoyable to listen to, especially his early stuff, but it didn't make it stuff didn't make it onto my list because of that. It
Yeah,
lacked that.
I agree. It's like if I try to hear an Yngwie Malmsteen solo in my head, it's like I can't come up with anything. Maybe I'll hear the intro or something, but that's about it, or maybe a particular lick. But I really want to look for things where I can hear that whole solo in my head and know where it's going, and it had that impact on me. So it was tough, man. I had killed me to leave some of these people out, but like everything else, people will talk about it, what we missed, and they'll probably have some great ones as well. And look forward to hearing what people thought we should have included.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, guys, like we were talking, please let us know what we missed. We missed a lot. There's so many to choose from. Want to hear what you guys think? Put it in the comments. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy this as much as we do. This is usually the highlight of our weeks, just to get this time to talk about our favorite subject. And we appreciate everybody that's watching this. So thank you guys. And Lou, take us out, brother.
Peace out, everybody.
Thank you guys.